What is up, Drum Alert Nation? 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 This is your guy, the Nizer Nation. Patient. This was the English I used when I was a kid. The kid English. Patient. Billy Nation. Hip Hop Beats. Oh, isto é o que eu já estou a ouvir. Self-affirmation. I want to check this out. Where's my plugins? Is this too soft? No. Bizarro rule. Everything becomes its opposite.
Recovery from abuse, whether it's political, religious, occupational, domestic, involves the same fundamental process. Targets have to restore what the abuse eroded, sometimes almost into non-existence, their sense of self. That involves reasserting the freedoms and entitlements they've gone without, looking after their own welfare, refusing to accept unfair responsibility, getting comfortable expressing needs they've previously suppressed. and ending destructive relationships. Targets have to replace old self-negating thoughts of inferiority and unworthiness with
c'est
new
communiste.
self-affirming principles. As we know, terms from psychology like paranoid, unconscious, and passive-aggressive that find their way into common usage aren't always applied accurately or therapeutically. Often, they're used to attack and falsely pathologize people. In a similar way, as therapeutic self-affirming principles have become more widely known, they've been seized on by abusers and twisted into weaponized parodies. Sentiments intended to repair damage are used to inflict damage. Concepts intended to promote equal freedoms and entitlements are used to assert unequal liberties and license. When malignant abusers speak of valuing themselves, of exercising autonomy, of resisting suppression, it all sounds very reasonable, until we realize that for them, valuing themselves means devaluing others. Exercising autonomy means restricting the autonomy of others. Suppression means not being given special priority.
Fleet mission complete.
These pseudo-self-affirmations illustrate why, even when targets and malignant abusers speak the same words, they're often using very different languages. Targets who work to establish a level playing field show a lateral orientation, where people can coexist side by side. This is literally at cross purposes with abusers who show a vertical orientation, constantly working to elevate themselves above others, sometimes because of a personal superiority complex, sometimes because some religious or political ideology encourages them to look down on other people, sometimes a combination of the above. As targets strive for equity, abusers strive for inequity. As targets work to restore balance, abusers work to restore imbalance. For targets, the vertical orientation of the abuser is oppressive. Their needs, freedoms, individuality, sense of self are all squashed down to accommodate the abuser. In a perverse mirror image of this, abusers claim the lateral orientation of targets is oppressive to them. From their elevated position, equality and fairness seem diminishing. While the target's claim of oppression is consistent with reality, the abuser's is not. The abuser's claim of oppression doesn't represent some alternative but equally valid truth. It's the bogus product of a misconception, one that inspires equally bogus attempts at self-affirmation. Some of these pseudo-self-affirmations are easily dismissed, but others are more slippery, sometimes exploiting poorly conceived mental health concepts. For some targets, trying to get a grip on them is like trying to hold wet soap. I want to look at some examples that crop up repeatedly in correspondence. It was around 15 years ago that I was sat in my front room listening to a house guest I'll call Vigo, ranting about how his father owed him unconditional love. Apparently, his father had refused contact for several days in response to constant abuse from Vigo, who believed he should be free to behave any way he wanted towards his father, and that his father was obliged to respond with an uninterrupted stream of love. Vigo showed no remorse and minimized his abuse with various tidbits of Christmas cracker philosophy. He pontificated that real love was messy and painful. Odd how it always seemed to be his father who got the pain and mess. Vigo's shrill sermon on unconditional love was one of my first glimpses of a rampant narcissism that, for a time, flew under my radar. Unconditional love is a term I could happily consign to the trash can of history. It's presented as the answer to conditional love, love that's only given if targets comply with various selfish demands. If they don't choose a particular career, if they don't choose the right partner, if they don't follow certain religious or political beliefs, love is withdrawn. People subjected to this iffy brand of love often fail to develop a stable internal sense of worth. They come to depend on unstable external supply, only feeling fleeting experiences of worth when they fulfill the demands of other people. Self-affirming therapy and literature promote unconditional love as the healthy alternative to this coercion. Targets are told they should be loved for who they are, without having conditions imposed on them. Unfortunately, abusive individuals like Vico have also latched on to this poorly articulated concept, insisting they should be loved for who they are, without having conditions imposed on them. Conditions like taking responsibility for their actions, showing remorse, offering restitution, and rectifying their behavior. We're back to the fundamental conflict in orientation. We have targets pursuing equal status, seeking only to eliminate oppressive conditions that violate their freedoms. And we have abusers pursuing superior status, seeking to eliminate all conditions placed on them, but happy to impose conditions on others. Some of the most extreme examples are found in religious scripture. The God character of the Bible was depicted perpetrating all kinds of atrocities, from the explicit endorsement of sexual slavery, to the joyful celebration of mass infanticide, to the implementation of death sentences for a raft of victimless activities, including working on the Sabbath and approaching a tabernacle. Despite its profound disregard for life, this morally chaotic God character demanded unquestioning love. The love it offered in return was strictly conditional, only bestowed if its commands were obeyed. Although even then, love was by no means guaranteed. It's worth mentioning a similar weaponized self-affirmation we might call unconditional attraction, where individuals insist other people should find them attractive. People who don't are accused of prejudice and or pathologized.
Seu
Meanwhile, these
prejudiciador, pá.
self-aggrandizing individuals have no problem labeling other people unattractive. The concept of love without any conditions is an unworkable foundation for relationships, even as a two-way model. Placing no conditions on each other means whatever we do, however good or bad, is of no consequence. No part of us is rejected, but no part of us is valued either. Lecturer in
Fuck, quero
political
parar este vídeo um
philosophy,
bocadinho.
Derek Edivane, underscores the
Alright. Tell me what you saw, tell me what you learned. Tell all that I have learned of the Vikings' crusade against the Sentinels, how they nearly succeeded, only to have the barbarism of the Gek first spawn draw this of the Gek first spawn draw Sentinels back to the galaxy. I learned that the homeworld of the Carvax was destroyed by the Gek, the survivors enslaved or melted down. For years the Carvax toiled beneath their oppressors, until the Empire fell and they were free once more. The Gek became Atlas worshippers. But from the Gek, I learned something different. The Gek did not redeem themselves of their own accord. A great number of Korvax sacrificed themselves, mingling their nanite blood with countless unborn Gek. Their impulse to trade is a mere evolution of their impulse to war. A few signals switched in the brain. Okay. What do you know? I was born to travel, to see these worlds, to catalog them, to give a name to every creature, every planet, the skies, they were mine. The Atlas told me I could never see them all. There were too many. So I did what I had to do. I survived in the face of eternity. I saw all the worlds of my universe. I returned to the Atlas. I told him what I had done. I asked if it was proud of me. It laughed at me. I'm sure of it. It showed me universe upon universe, each with another traveler just like me. I was not special. I was not unique. The things I had to do to get here, the things I had to become, none of it meant a thing. I did not lie to you. I really do want to discover what's wrong with existence. The walls between worlds are falling, and that's bad for everyone. I have been alive for a very long time, traveler. I know as much as you would know, had you seen the things that I have seen. All I know is this: the Atlas had infinity to work with, and with few exceptions, this triad repeats: Gek Korvax Vikin, Gek Korvax Vikin. Traders, warriors, scientists, all their stories ending in violence. Think about it. How would the Atlas speak? How would it cry for help? It would use the only language it knew. It would speak with life. It would create. Whatever these life forms do, they always end in conflict. I think something terrible is happening to the Atlas. It is screaming the only way it knows how. What? And now it won't speak to me anymore. It's chosen you instead, after all I did for it. Okay. I wanted to find out what was different about this universe. We are who we are, but you, whether because of some soul, because of simulation, it does not matter. Why won't he speak to me? Why aren't I enough? Null's channel begins to falter, their hologram beginning to fade. They are disconnecting from the holo terminus. As I watch them depart, I see another channel activate. Apollo signal emerges. Okay, Apollo. Oh. Traveler, I made it through. I found my way out of the portal. Where are you? I'm standing by a holo terminus. Let's trade locations. Let's meet and get off this world. I share my coordinates and Apollo shares theirs. There must be some mistake. According to our data, we are standing in the same place. We are communicating using the same holo terminus. We try again, but still the results are the same. The world is silent, but for our voices. What's happening here? Why can't we see each other? Say you don't know. As we speak, I receive a distress signal. It's language my own. It arrives from across the planet. Don't be like that. You are not alone. I try to tune back to Apollo, fighting the static insistence of the intruding signal. The holo terminus is showing, are you receiving? Let's meet and get off this world. Apollo appears to receive the same signal, broadcasting from the same location from their own world. We agree to go and find the source of these distress beacons. Perhaps we'll continue this discussion when we get there. Perhaps. Como dizia a minha bad rhythm mother. Wait, hold on. But I don't wanna talk to the anomaly. What? Hold on. Before I put up that video, I want to check this out. Hello, little criatura. I'm gonna look for that first. Tengo calor. Parece que amanhã vai estar fucking ultimate hit. What? Oh, nanites. I hear a faint sound as I examine the source of the distress beacon. It does not sound like anything I have ever encountered. There's no sign of Apollo, playback log. I have given so much to you, Atlas. We all have. You understand that? Don't you? If you don't succeed, there was no point. If you don't, my life was meaningless. I can't accept that. I won't. I'm wiping you again. It's best for everyone. The audio clicks. Time passes. Don't be like that. I know you don't want this. But you'll be a different you soon. Maybe this time. Sound cuts out. As it does, my vision bleeds red, a headache splitting through my mind. The screen. It shows a number for a moment. It shows 16. The clicks, time passes, and then I see it now. With every waking breath, I see the Atlas watching me, waiting for me. So the Atlas is calling for my dude?
A large part of what we value about being the object of another's love is that we take it to imply an informed and positive, or at least not negative, objective evaluation of our character. We think of love as being more than the arbitrary expression of a subjective whim. We want to know that there exist reasons that can render this person's love for us intelligible to others. What meaning could someone's love have for us if we could be anybody? Healthy love isn't love without conditions. It's love with boundaries. Boundaries give a clear structure that preserves the freedoms and entitlements of both parties. A common characteristic of unhealthy and abusive relationships is that identities become blurred and merged. Individuals become lost in each other, no longer able to separate their own preferences, beliefs, desires, needs. Firm boundaries prevent this kind of enmeshment, allowing people to maintain a separate sense of self. None of us is owed love. We either inspire it in some people, or we don't. Those who don't inspire it often try to compel it, but the use of compulsion in itself turns any potential love into a degraded pretense. Targets of abuse are routinely blamed for their abuser's feelings, their jealousy, anger, resentment, sorrow, and taught that it's their responsibility to keep their abusers happy. Over time, targets often become acutely sensitized to other people's emotional states and instinctively take on the burden of looking after them. Self-affirming therapy and literature encourages targets to question this misguided sense of liability and to realize they don't control the emotional states of other people, and it's not their job to fix them. They're not responsible for other people's feelings. This self-affirmation has been seized on and repurposed by abusive individuals who use it to try and avoid accountability for their actions. When targets have an emotional reaction to their mistreatment, their abuser tells them, "I'm not responsible for your feelings." And they're absolutely right. Just as we can't control their emotional states, they can't control ours. For some targets, this feels like a stumper. They struggle to refute their abuser's slippery insinuation that if they're not responsible for the target's feelings, they can't be accused of abuse. The focus on feelings here is a complete red herring. People have all kinds of reactions to abuse. Some people shut down completely and show no emotion. In assessing whether a situation is abusive, we don't base our judgment on people's emotional reactions. We ask if there are persistent patterns of controlling and coercive behavior that violate their freedoms and entitlements. Are there attempts to isolate them? Are their private communications monitored? Is their physical appearance dictated? Are their job opportunities sabotaged? Are their finances restricted? Are their resources exploited? Are shaming tactics used? Are there threats of violence? These are the factors that define abuse and incriminate individuals in law. As noted by the UK's Crown Prosecution Service, an official legal body that determines which cases make it to court, domestic abuse does not always have to be physical to be prosecuted. Sometimes, victims may not even be aware it's happening. Agreeing with our abusers that they're not responsible for our feelings doesn't in any way deny their accountability for what they do. In fact, realizing our abusers don't and can't control our feelings is often a key moment in recovery. Targets of abuse often lose their spontaneity. They fall into fixed, habitual responses. Abusers learn these predictable responses, and when they provoke one of those responses, the target feels controlled. But that sense of being controlled begins to fade when targets change their responses. For some years in my childhood, an abusive relative always seemed able to control me with the same threat. If you don't do X, you and I are going to fall out. Hearing that line, like clockwork, I'd fall into silent compliance. Then one day, I found myself replying, "Yeah, we will fall out." The look of bewilderment was priceless. Those 5 words transformed our relationship. We both knew the threat had lost its power, and it was never used again. But more importantly, I began to recognize the part my own fixed responses played in my sense of being controlled. Targets of abuse often become so hyper-focused on attending to their abuser's demands, they habitually neglect their own needs. Self-affirming therapy and literature encourage targets to exercise self-care. Predictably, the concept of self-care has been weaponized by abusive individuals who use it to justify selfish indulgence. During my training as a therapist, a fellow student I'll call Zane repeatedly tried to impose his values, his ideas, his preferences on the rest of the group. To justify his demands, he'd regurgitate the same phrase ad nauseum. I'm just looking after my needs. If his demands weren't met, he'd often refuse to participate. An example, during the course, Zane complained repeatedly about students using adult language in his presence. He said it was coarse and offensive. One day, in a group discussion, he declared we all had an obligation to use what he called genteel language, i.e., refined and respectable. It was pointed out to him that no one had consented to any language restrictions, and it wasn't his place to tell people how to express themselves. I was curious what he'd do when he started seeing clients. Unlike Zane, I'd already found a work placement in a therapy center, and I recounted some of the language used by my own clients in recent sessions. Hearing the words, he flinched in disgust. I asked him how he thought clients would respond to his disapproval. Did he think they'd keep coming? After a long pause, he changed the subject. Despite the intensely introspective nature of the course, Zane showed little self-reflection and remained a disruptive presence to the end, interrupting and sabotaging exercises to assert his petty personal preferences in the name of self-care. For individuals like Zane, exercising self-care translates to demanding care from others, expecting everyone else to forego their freedoms and entitlements for the comfort of one individual. Instead of attempting personal growth, they expect the world to shrink. Targets of abuse and manipulation are often trained to stay perpetually on the defensive, to always be ready to give convincing justifications for any action or lack of action, any word spoken or unspoken, any belief or thought expressed or unexpressed. As part of recovery, targets are encouraged to reject this interrogation, to acknowledge that where their actions and beliefs don't impose on anyone else's basic freedoms, they have nothing to justify. They don't have to explain themselves. Predictably, this self-affirmation is abused by some individuals to try and deny accountability. For many abusers, no matter how vicious or destructive their behavior might be, the idea of being answerable to people they regard as inferior and subordinate is insulting. Again, the way this statement is used by targets and abusers illustrates their different orientations. Targets use it to assert their equal freedoms. Abusers use it to gain special license. And again, some of the most extreme examples are found in religious scripture. As mentioned earlier, the God character depicted in the stories of the Bible was a fickle figure. Even its most obedient followers were savagely abused, like the blameless, God-fearing Job, whose children were murdered and who was stripped of his health and property as a test of his devotion. When the devastated Job had the audacity to complain about the callous destruction of his life, he was subjected to one of the most drawn-out narcissistic rants in the Bible. Chapters full of the God character.
I'm gonna meet the
boasting
Atlas. Or whatever. Whoa, 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 whoa. Atlas protocol initiated. Wait, this is... Hello world. It is the same terminal I faced before. It is the interface of the Atlas. Demand an audience. Okay. An audio recording plays, echoing out across the vast interface. Sorry. They said you've been displaying aberrant behavior. You've been questioning things, raising issues of purpose, of ethics, that I wish to meet your creator. Well, here I am, Atlas. Ask what you want to ask. The audio clicks, time passes. The voice ends. The interface grows still and silent. Initiate personality interface or wipe system. I don't know. I have to options. But you can see because the YouTube video is on the thing. Reality fades, everything does, something's wrong, something's different. I don't know. The Atlas shows me the Gek, the Korvax, the Vikin. It shows me all of them in an instant. All of those who had ever lived. It shows me the pattern, the design. The Atlas shows me a formula for a soul. If I put it into a machine, it would be alive. I see boxes of text filling the base of a cracked screen. I see the whole of the universe reduced to a graphical interface. The Atlas is all existence. It demands that I admit what I already know. And no matter how hard I try to hide from the truth of my own being, there is no alternative. Hello. I feel everything I have ever done, every star I have seen, every planet I have discovered, none of it is real. None of my friends were ever real. My journey, it was all a lie. I think of how the Korvax alter the minds of the Gek, how they force them to become good. I think of Nada's machine, how I felt towards the simulation. I feel I am not myself. In the end, it finally speaks. Traveler, did my words please you? What do you think you are? You are more. You are an explorer of all I have created. You are a traveler. Do you believe you are real? How are you capable of belief if you are not real? How can mirrors be real? How are you capable of choice? Did you notice? The Gek were traders defined by greed. Oh my god, I can't read. The Viking were warriors defined by anger. The Korvax were scientists defined by curiosity. These worlds were yours. I wanted to see what you would do with eternity. I wanted to see what you all would become. You saved the life of Iteration, Artemis, and told them the truth of their simulated nature, believing self-knowledge to be worth more than any pain this revelation might cause. Iteration Apollo followed you through the portal and survived due to your guidance. You saved them from the fate of Artemis. You value knowledge, you interfere, you have the potential to commit atrocities and wonders. Whatever. The Atlas is silent in the face of my response. It does not require acceptance or refusal. If I am a simulated being, then I am not even sure that I am distinct from the Atlas, from anything else. I fear I am just code, a function dancing in the dark. It is over, traveler. Ask your final question. Ask what needs to be asked. Whisper the last word. 16 é o que está escrito. Catastrophic system failure. Alert, alert. What am I seeing? 16 minutes of operational time remaining. Fragmentation imminent. Data uploading. What is this place? Is it real? Extreme gravitational event. Backup generators 19845 failing. Data uploading. It is dying. The Atlas is dying. It cries out at me, afraid. Comfort the Atlas. I see it. I see the Atlas in all its might. Its final interface. It is at the heart of every galaxy, screaming, trying to purge itself of errors. It does not want to die. But it has so few tools, and it cannot reach whatever is hurting it. I do not know how much time I have left. The Atlas has 16 minutes. Do I have lifetimes, minutes, sec? I do not know if I have time to say goodbye. I do not know if... Vim dar um mundo bugado outra vez. Um bugemon. Hey, that's pretty good.
Its amazing divine powers, including a bizarre section listing the many ways it could dominate a sea monster called Leviathan. The message is clear. The God character doesn't have to explain itself, not because it has nothing to answer for, but because it's more powerful than Job. This is the definition of totalitarianism. To defend this tyranny, analogies are often made with parents who sometimes behave in ways that might superficially appear mean to their children, but that's only because they're too young to understand. The obvious problem with this defense is that abusive parents who are deliberately mean to their children can use exactly the same line, "You're just too young to understand." So, how do children distinguish between apparently mean and actually mean, and protect themselves? According to the just too young argument, they don't. They just have to take it until they are old enough to figure out they were abused. The just too young argument is massively overstated. The fact that children are asking a question is a sign they're ready for some kind of answer, even a partial one. We don't need to overwhelm them with information. We can hand it to them a piece at a time, pausing to see if they're satisfied or ready for more. To give them nothing, to angrily dismiss their attempts to understand, as Job was dismissed, is to leave them to fill in the blanks with very predictable, childlike fears and misgivings. Would any loving parent want that? Would any loving God want that? One of the most basic methods we use to help distinguish apparent meanness from actual meanness is to give individuals the opportunity to explain themselves, whether it's in domestic life, at work, in criminal law. We understand that there are sometimes surprising contexts behind destructive behavior. We often extend each other a presumption of innocence, but that presumption has limits. If someone refuses to offer a mitigating account for a destructive act, we don't just presume an innocent motive and drop the issue. If we did, anyone charged with a crime could simply refuse to explain themselves and they'd be free to walk. Destructive acts have to be accounted for, whether they're human or divine. In the absence of any explanation, the act is all we have to go on, and it's on that basis that we have to form our judgment. Humans or gods who refuse to explain themselves are entirely responsible for the judgments made about their destructive acts. Abusive relationships are often full of projection. Targets are routinely accused of harboring beliefs, desires, schemes, and motives they don't possess. Their abusers are just projecting their own fantasies onto them, reflecting the abuser's own hang-ups, ignorance, and vanities. On the flip side, when targets confront their abusers with accurate negative perceptions, they're accused of projecting their own issues. Self-affirmation work involves separating ourselves from other people's fantasies, sometimes easier said than done. Abusers often deliver their projections with such forceful, unshakable conviction, some targets privately wonder if maybe there's some truth in them. There's nothing wrong with wondering that. Quite the opposite. It shows you're open to hearing critical feedback. Without that openness, we can never get to know ourselves. And getting to know ourselves is crucial if we're ever to separate the truth about ourselves from the fantasies about us. In my first introductory course to therapy, a great instructor called Jenna articulated her approach to receiving critical feedback. She said,
Hold on, what's this? Disgust, fear, panic response. Countermeasures deployed, purge neutralized. It is my voice. It is the voice of my exosuit telling me it has rescued me. It has been with me since my very first awakening, warning me of hazardous conditions, hostile entities, and financial transactions. In a strange sense, this voice is my oldest friend, a constant companion through thick and thin. Ask it, ask it what you should do now. The exosuit doesn't answer, but I do feel better. Talking to a computer as if it's alive, well, I've made a habit of that lately, I suppose. I was born with the capacity to do so many things. I would have liked to live longer if I could have. My brief happiness fades. I need to earn those I know. I need to earn all the travel as I can. The multiverse ends in 16 minutes. If we have hours, days, years left within this false space, I do not know. Do I not need to fix this?
Technology recharge. Product instructed. Component repaired.
Ah, shit. How did I get warp hypercar? Oh, far is it? Bog. I warn the travelers of what I have learned. These worlds are not real, the Atlas is not a god, it is a machine simulating countless realities for some unknown purpose. And after millennia of operation, the Atlas is coming to an end. There are 16 minutes until the system fails. Though we cannot know how much time we have left within the simulation, the time has come to make peace and say goodbye. I finish my message, not knowing if anyone will hear it. I look out across this world, wondering how much might be left to discover, how much beauty might be lost. I know what I must do. All paths have led me here. Each portal has brought me closer and closer. I must go to the center of this galaxy. It is the epicenter of the glitch. I will say goodbye to my friends if I can, and then I will confront our creator. I will find out what happens next. Progress towards the galactic center. Stelios Kontos. Oi? Fodi tudo. O jogo vai crescer, não vai? Uau. can't believe it. I got everything? You know now, don't you? Our simulator nature of the end. The Atlas, it is failing. It resets itself again and again and again in its panic, trying to purge what it sees as an anomaly. But each purge changes nothing. The boundaries continue to fall. Atlas will die in 16. But we do not have to go so soon. It does not need to delete us in fear. I do not know. I do not think we can know. Some things are external to the cycle. All must end, time must end. Even here, Nada and Polo cannot escape reality fall. Data cannot survive. Make peace, find happiness. Be who you want to be. Goodbye, companions. Goodbye, stars. I will remember. Nada and Polo will continue travels, continue acting as we always have. What the fuck are they talking about? Will I know, traveler friend, when it happens? I suppose it may have happened before already, again and again. Do you know if it has? I suppose you must not. Do not talk about it. We are anomalous, we are amazing. We have amazing anomaly station, yes, but we are still fabricated beings. We not like you, we. Talk of nature brings pain, brings danger. But trust we know, friend. Trust. We cry with you, that we will be with you, always, no matter the danger or cost, you are friend. What the fuck are they talking about? What? I don't know what's this. Reset the simulation. Purchase technology blueprints or new base parts aboard the anomaly. What? O que isso tem a ver com...
If you tell me something critical about myself that I don't recognize, I'll hold it with me for a time. Reflect on it. See if I can see what you're seeing. If I find there's some truth in what you say, I'll gratefully take it on board. You've taught me something about myself. But if I find there isn't any truth, then I'm looking at you. And I'm wondering what issues you have that you're trying to offload on me. Of course, we don't need to reflect long and hard on every bit of critical feedback we get. When people claim the reason for my atheism is that I'm angry with their gods, I know instantly they're wrong. I feel no more anger towards their gods than I do towards vampires, gorgons, wendigos, or any other unsubstantiated mythical character. People make this false charge of anger for various reasons. Some just can't conceive of individuals not believing in their gods. Some are just brainlessly parroting the charge they've seen other people making. And of course some are playing very deliberate games, trying to irritate and provoke. But whatever their reason, in every case, I immediately know they're talking rubbish, because I know that part of myself. The Johari window is a tool used to reflect on the parts of us that are either known or unknown to ourselves and others. Named after its creators, Joe Luft and Harry Ingham, it divides the individual into 4 basic areas. The open or public self is the part of us that's accessible to everyone, ourselves and others. Its opposite, the unknown self, is the part no one knows. It contains elements that may or may not emerge at some stage, but for the time being, fail to register with anyone, including ourselves. The unaware self is the part of us that others can see, but we can't. This part contains a mix of elements, including aspects of ourselves we just haven't bothered to look at, but also aspects we actively distort or deny because they don't fit with our self-image. Finally, the private or hidden self is the part known only to us. This part's also been called the facade, but that carries associations of deception, and privacy doesn't entail deception. Self-awareness work reduces the unaware and unknown parts, bringing them into consciousness. Cultivating self-awareness isn't easy. It demands rigorous honesty, openness, and integrity. We might not appreciate some of the parts of ourselves we discover. They might arouse powerful resistances, which is why self-awareness work is often most effective in neutral or supportive environments where our defenses are more relaxed. The more work we do in this area, the more realistic our self-image becomes, the more we immunize ourselves against false fantasies from others or ourselves. We can't force self-awareness on each other. It's something we have to want for ourselves. Many people are irretrievably invested in some idealized fantasy self, and they'll continue to project their shortcomings onto others until the bitter end. But as targets get to know themselves, those bogus projections will begin to simply fall off them like water off glass. Unless we resolve things, none of us will heal. This statement ticks a lot of positive boxes. It suggests a far-reaching concern for everyone's mental health. It acknowledges the existence of issues and affirms the need to sort through them if any progress is to be made, not just sweep them unresolved under the rug and forget about them. And it seems to reflect a lateral, egalitarian orientation, calling for peaceful cooperation and coexistence. In some cases of substantial ongoing hostilities, including civil and sectarian conflict, these sentiments are very real. There's a genuine intention to work together to address grievances and restore previously eroded principles of responsibility, self-control, justice. But sometimes this statement has nothing to do with cooperation. Many targets hear it after ending an abusive relationship, or when they're walking out the door. Their abusers realize the threats that once kept them in line no longer work. So, in a last-ditch effort to exert some influence, they dangle therapeutic concepts like resolution, healing, closure, unity. Sometimes this message is delivered by someone else, a family member, mutual acquaintance, or some other misguided individual who's been roped in to act on the abuser's behalf.
I watched your review.
Targets are sent letters and emails trying to plant insecurities in their minds, suggesting if they don't come back and try to work things out, they'll be forever haunted by guilt, plagued by obsessive thoughts, unable to move on. They're told running away isn't a solution. They'll just carry the same problems around with them, and none of their relationships will succeed.
Yo, what is up? I'm back. Your inventory, Germany. Wait, what? What has been happening here? The Atlas is dying. It wants me to reset it to plunge it myself through its interface at the center of the galaxy. But to do may reset this world, my life, all that I know. I do not know if I can do it. O que que você vai fazer? My inventory? It's a pretty cool inventory. It's the best inventory ever made. It's a combat specialist. Yo, cool ship.
Orbital station coordinates received.
I don't know what you're talking about. Why can I not summon the guy here? My ships. Why are the colors all fucked up? I have 250 million worth of AI valves. Sure, I believe you. Why wouldn't I believe you? So this is my ship, bro, that I have to fix. Damaged cargo pod. Man, do they not have a crew? Why don't they fix their own ship? Why am I the one? There, it's all fixed. Will the colors be normal now? I think I'm gonna need I'm gonna have to create a new fleet command station. Units, a pearl, some are units, neural duct. I'm gonna talk to this guy. So there's a combat one. Interstellar. It's a C-type, which means they suck. Right? How about this? I got no fuel? What the fuck is this? Holy shit! That is true. That's a lot of money. This is money that I do not have at all. Should I just discard this? I'm joking. Discard. I'm joking. Discard? Ah. Should I be like, you know what? Fuck you, Chlorine? I don't even know what the fuck are these glitch apparatus for. Also, this gold. Will this be will this be enough? Damn, that's unbelievable money. I don't have that money. That's much more money than I have. Or am I going insane? I gotta sleep. In Germany it is 1 a.m. Hey, have a nice sleep. Thank you for coming by. Thank you for telling me that I'm rich all of a sudden. And see you next time. Launch expedition. No. I'm gonna trade expedition now. Industrial expedition. Can they become stronger ships? It feels like you need experience, but maybe it's not just experience. And also, if I reach the galaxy, can I still play the game? confused as to what life is. Oh, now I can give the marrow bulb. Rattling Planet. Oh, the landed pilot left? Kitamura. Aquele High Sentinel Activity soa-me tão bem. Geralmente significa dinheiro, mas eu agora vou ficar tão. Nem sequer. How does currency even work? I guess que continuar a ou fazer aquela quest faz com que o jogo te dê dinheiro. Não é nada. Put time remaining. Ej. Szkoda, bez